Hello, I'm Laura Rolfe, a host of Powered by Franchising and CEO of Mint Franchise Consultants. I became a franchise consultant about 4.5 years ago, but before I became a consultant, I was looking for a special franchise for myself, and I met my next guest, Joel Souls, who is CEO of Your Choice Senior Care and CEO also of Prime Senior Placement. So I'm thrilled to have him on the Powered by Franchising podcast to chat about senior care and both of his brands. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. It's nice for you to have me. I've known you for a while now, and I remember our first conversation when we started talking. We were a new franchise, Your Choice Senior Care. And I guess we are still considered an emerging brand based on our size. But you're looking at that area there in Arizona, and we had an opportunity for you, and we were excited, but we realized that your passion was helping others franchise. So we're glad to be talking to you now, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to share our brand, which is Your Choice Senior Care, and then our secondary brand is Prime Senior Placement, both in the senior care industry. We have 9 locations for Your Choice Senior Care, all the way from Austin, Texas, through Mississippi, Alabama, down into West Palm Beach, Florida. And then we have our Prime Senior Placement locations, Biloxi, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, and in St. Louis. They're all somewhat new and emerging, but they are doing great.
Well, part of the reason that I was attracted to your brand, Joe, was you. You and then your partner, George, are just your family people. You're very supportive, and you were excellent at guiding me through the discovery process to really get a flavor and flair for senior care and your brands. I have a background, I'm a former licensed social worker, so background in senior care. I'd managed an Alzheimer's unit for a number of years early in my career, and so it made sense to me. But I had managed people for so long of my career that I was looking for something that I needed a little less responsibility. But I certainly have a lot of clients that are that have a passion for helping others. And when I have those clients, I love showing Your Choice Senior Care. So tell me a little bit about how you started Your Choice Senior Care back
Sure.
in, I think, 2010.
2010, I was working in corporate America, worked for AT&T. I have an electrical engineering background with an MBA. And so I was given the opportunity by corporate America to take a severance package because the Yellow Pages, which is what we produced, was going by the wayside. So I took that opportunity and I took that severance package and moved into the ownership of my own business. And it's been the best thing that could ever happen. I've told people multiple times I wish this had happened 10 years before. So in 2010, I was thinking about, golly, what is something that's going to get me out of manufacturing, because a lot of our manufacturing was headed overseas, and what's something more service related that I could get into. And that's when I landed with Your Choice Senior Care. And the reason for that is we had gone through a couple of experiences with family members, not direct family members, but extended family members that had caregivers. And we were like, you know what, this is a really great opportunity to move into business ownership, but also help other people. Um, and it's been a really neat experience. Started Your Choice Senior Care. We have grown it, but what something that was very something I didn't expect. We're helping these seniors and we're helping the families and we're helping them become children again. The family members that were caregivers, we gave them the opportunity to become children, they're children again versus caregivers. But what I also saw was we were helping our caregivers, support their own families through a job with us. And that's something that I did not expect. Very, very good experience. Had a lot of good experience with caregivers that have thanked us for employing them. And that was something that just, I guess when you're starting a business, you're thinking about, how the business is going to run, what you're going to do for your customers. But this is I almost look at it as like a two client business model where, one client is the person you're providing care for, but the other client is your employee. Taking care of both of them, helping them both succeed. And this is the type of business where that really needs to happen. Your caregivers and your families really have to match up well in order for this to be successful. And that's something we've determined. But so that's kind of how we got started. And then after George, my partner, joined us in 2018, I believe. A couple of years later, we decided to franchise, and the reason for that is we saw we were doing really well, helping people. We in the last 15 years, we provided over 2 million hours of care for folks. And we were being very successful, both, from a feeling good about what we're doing, but also financially. So we wanted to share that opportunity with other people by franchising and help them grow a business like we had grown. And so that's when we took it to the next level of actually franchising Your Choice Senior Care about 4.5, 5 years ago.
Well, excellent. Well, 2 million hours, that's a lot of care that you're providing to
That is a
people
lot of
in
care.
need. And the opportunity for those adult children who've been caring for a loved one in their home to have a respite and make sure that they have somebody who's safe and caring and compassionate, some of those qualities that are important to
Sure.
Your Choice Senior Care to look after their loved one in their home. What a beautiful thing.
Yes, it's been great. Been a great experience. And I feel like we are offering a service to families above and beyond what they typically would get with a caregiving service. And we really enjoy that. A lot of that has to do with the fact that our franchisees must be owner operators. We don't allow remote ownership. If they can't be involved with the day-to-day activities, at least for the first startup of the business, first year or two, 3 years, we just find it's not a real good fit. We want our franchisees to know their clients, to know their caregivers, and I think that's what leads to good service.
Yeah, well, and you embody what an ideal franchisee is with Your Choice Senior Care, with compassion and caring, hands-on business philosophy. You and George are both very hands-on with your new franchisees, with the onboarding process where the franchisee comes to visit you, you visit the franchisee, and then you both are very community minded, just as you're looking for your franchisees to be community minded.
That's
So, talk to me a little bit about, share with our listeners what you share with your franchisees or people who are looking at Your Choice Senior Care and your philosophy and how you help set them up for success.
right, right. So again, like I said, we do require our owners to be owner operators. One of the things that we stress is their ability to handle all situations as they come to them. And we know they're not going to know how to do that right off the cuff, but we are very accessible. If you have a problem, call us and we will walk you through it. We have dealt with almost every problem you could have in a business. One of the things that we start off with when we start a new franchise is we tell our franchisees when they're prospects before they become a franchisee that they don't have to figure out anything. They don't, I think, and that's a big concern for a new business owner is, I don't know how to run a business. And when they're looking for a franchise, I think they're looking for just the model. And that's obviously why people buy franchises, because they want to take the model and go with it and not have to figure it out themselves. But we take it one step further. We take them through the process of business ownership from the very first day that they become a franchisee. We are working with them on their payroll systems and how to get insurance for their company and the tax hurdles that we need to jump to get to satisfy that. So it's just a well-rounded. I don't. I guess my point is I don't want anyone spending 6 months trying to figure out how to run a business just so they can run a effective senior care company. We already know how to run a business. You don't have to figure it out. So why would you want to? One of the things when we were doing our research and talking to some franchisees with other senior care companies, we had one in particular say, this is a great business model. I'm glad I did it. I just wish it hadn't taken me 6 months to figure out how to run my business, not operate my business, but actually run it behind the scenes, the back office stuff. And so we took that to heart, knowing that we already knew how to do that. Why would we allow one of our franchisees to struggle through that process? I mean, we want you to start making money as quickly as possible. We want you to start providing service as quickly as possible. So that's where that starts us off with our goal of how we want our franchisees to see us as a problem solvers, as a resource. So once we get past that, initial, let's get our business going, get it started up, the training is what we really feel like is where we are above the rest. We don't do any training at our corporate headquarters. We don't have classroom training where you're sitting in a classroom with five other franchisees. And then you take an abstract idea and put it into place in your at your location. We come to you directly. Our training starts off in your office, in your location. There is a little bit upfront training classroom at your office. And then we move into real world situations. On the front end, we show you how to operate your CRM, how to do billing, how to do payroll, but we also interview new caregivers and we hire them with you. We don't tell you how to hire them. We show you how to hire them, and telling you and showing you just make all the difference in the world. So once we get past that initial week of operational training and you got some caregivers hired up, that's when I come in and we do the marketing training for another week. And that is, our model is, I do, you do, or I do, we do, and you do. So I do the marketing first with you there with me. Then we transition to we're kind of taking turns, and you're doing a little bit, I'm doing a little bit. And then by the end of the week, our expectation is that you would do the marketing with me being there with you to fill in the gaps. And then to go back and discuss how that went and how we could improve upon it. And, you know, as it is in the franchise world, you can't guarantee anything, but a lot of times after that first week of marketing, that's when we get our first client. And so that is the differentiator of us as you start your business. But after that, what differentiates us is that we are there for you. You know, one thing we saw with a lot of our competitors too is the people training the franchisees are people that the franchisor trained to train people. You're not getting that from us. You're getting trained by the people who have done this work for years, not someone who is trained on training. So that's another thing and the support goes along with that too. Your support is from someone who has done this. And then as we grow, and which has been a really cool thing about our franchises, we are now a network, and they reach out to each other and have questions. And I just we have a text string that, you know, everybody's on, they ask a question, and I sit back and watch the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I know the answer. I could answer it right away, but I like for that collaboration to happen. And sometimes we get some ideas out there that I've not thought about, or, you know, that are new, and it's new things to try. And it's really interesting watching these franchisees grow, and they do grow. They become more confident. They understand their business. And with that comes even more confidence. It's really neat to watch the transformation we've had with our franchisees.
Well, and that just builds that franchisee community as well. So everybody's leaning in to support one another and also celebrate the wins in the business.
That's right.
So I love that. And I love your training philosophy, that you're not in a classroom. There's only so much that I can retain when I am in a classroom setting. It's much more practical to have that real world experience, and your philosophy of I do, we do, you do. I think that's really spot on, Joe.
Well, you know what we've done that we've added recently in the last 2 or 3 franchises that we've started up, we've added another layer of training. After about 3 to 4 months of operations, once you've gotten those first clients and you've done those, you know, you've gone through a couple of caregiving situations and you're starting to see how this world works, and you're not thinking abstractly anymore. Now it's real world situation. Then we come back to you again. And we say, okay, now that you have some experience, let's talk about this, what's going on again, and let's help you through the processes. Let's look at your process and make sure you're not missing anything. Because, like you just said, it's hard to retain all the information we throw at people in the very beginning. So let's go back in about 3 to 4 months later and really sit down and go over how things are going. Now they understand the business. So when we say something, it makes more sense to them now. They can really wrap their head around that. George is in West Palm Beach today doing that follow-up training with our guy down there. And it's just amazing how much they get out of that secondary level of training.
So I think some of our listeners, it helps to identify with some of your successful franchisees. And so if you could share with us maybe one or two stories of a franchisee who maybe didn't have any senior care experience, who's really thriving in the business with Your Choice Senior Care.
I'd like to talk about our very first franchisee, and his name is Seth.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought the Biloxi kind of Mississippi Gulf Coast location. Seth was a teacher, had no business experience whatsoever. Uh, Bought the franchise, very, very nervous about starting a business and not knowing what to do. We took him through the process. And when I talk about the maturity and the growth of folks, Seth comes to top of mind because he's a different person. He's got confidence now when he walks into a room. He has become the local rock star in that area, in the Mississippi Gulf Coast area. They see him as being the guy who's got the knowledge. He also owns our secondary franchise model, which is Prime Senior Placement. So now he is really that subject matter expert on, if somebody needs anything in the senior care world, they can call Seth and he can put them on the right track. He may not be able to help them directly, but he can put them in the right direction, give them the resources. The other side of that is financially, he's grown. I mean, he's seen the benefits of business ownership. And, I don't have to tell anybody, being a teacher is not the most lucrative business in the world. So seeing him financially grow and that comes, he tells me thank you for selling him a business, and that's a good feeling when somebody thanks you for something you've done for them, and see it as an opportunity and not just, oh, I have to buy a business from somebody and now I pay them royalties and all that. He thanks me for what we have done for him and how we helped change his life.
Yeah, you're changing lives of your clients, of your caregivers, and then of your franchisees. One franchisee at a time, one patient at a time, one
It's really
caregiver.
exciting. We get a very good, what we love more than anything is seeing people succeed. Obviously, when they succeed, we succeed, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at their success and how we can help them be successful. It's just a great feeling. When we had our first franchise convention this past year and got everybody together, it was good to see everybody in a group. Everybody was happy. They were, talking about the issues they have, telling war stories, all the fun things that happen when you're in business for yourself. So it's just a really good experience.
So talk a little bit about how Prime Senior Placement came to be and why you've grown to two brands now.
Right. And I'm going to be honest with you. You are the reason we have the second brand now. When we were talking to you and you're like, this sounds great. You've given me the territory that I wanted. I think some of our competitors, the territories that they were offering to you were not as lucrative and juicy as the ones we were providing. But I remember you saying, I managed people my whole life. I just don't want to have 50 or 60, caregivers and office staff that I have to manage. And so we took that to heart, and we went to a few franchise shows and we were talking to people and they're like, this sounds great, but it's just, the employee part of it is really what worries me. And that's about the time when COVID was going on and employees were not going to work. And it was just, it kind of created a chain of events that during that period, George and I were like, we need to provide another model, a solution for folks that are just not looking for that 24/7 type business model. Probably not quite as lucrative as senior care, but not far from it. So we got in touch with a guy that we've both known in Birmingham for years that has been in the senior care industry as long as we have. And he had created a placement agency in Birmingham. And he had been doing this for 6 or 7 years and been very successful. And we're like, Tim, we love your model. We want to take that and move forward with it. So Tim provided the model. We created the franchise, the brand, and now we've started selling that brand. Now, with that particular brand, Prime Senior Placement, which is helping families find a place for mom, which I hate to use that term. We almost named it "What About Dad?" But so finding a place for loved ones to live when they could no longer stay at home, we we came up with this model, and the great thing about it is a more of a 9 to 5 type job. You don't have to worry about getting a call at 11 o'clock at night about someone needing care or a situation. Um, and he was doing really good. We do our training in Birmingham for that, but because of our other model, we also give you a little bit of time when you get out into the field, and we come back and do some training at your location, because we see how much that means to our franchisees of going into and doing that marketing training at their location. So that is really taking off. We have, like I've said, the 3 locations. 2 of them are really new within the last 2 to 3 months, and we're looking at growing past that this year.
Well, congratulations on the second brand, and it's fun to see your growth and stay connected with you over the last 4.5 years. And yeah, it was COVID that had me nervous about managing a bunch of people, but I'm in a different spot now, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So, what are you most excited about with the future of franchising with both Your Choice Senior Care and Prime Senior Placement?
Well, obviously, the growth of the senior population is exciting. There's no concerns at all about, are there enough people out there that need care. We're starting to see that more and more of the clients of our franchisees have the funds and the resources and have planned for the future in order to be able to afford the services we provide. Um, but we're just looking forward to expanding our footprint, and that expansion leads to more collaboration between our locations, and that's a big deal for us. We really lean heavily in on that collaboration. Again, we are kind of rooted in the Southeast, but that's not where we intend to stay. We do, like I said, from Texas to the Florida to the tip of Florida. So that's where we are now. Of course, in Prime Senior Placement, it's a lot quicker startup, and it's a lot less expensive model too. That's one thing that's exciting for a lot of the brokers in the franchise world. What they're hearing is we have a $30,000 franchise fee. We don't layer on a lot of cost on top of that, which some of our competitors do. We do that training on site, both in Birmingham and in the location that the franchise is in. So I think that's the exciting part of this, is growing both brands and seeing them take off. And what we hope to happen at some point in time, kind of like what we've done in Biloxi, is have a Your Choice Senior Care and a Prime Senior Placement exist in the same territory, and those 2 franchises help each other out with taking care of the senior population.
Yeah, and great referral partners. You can either stack on and have both of the brands like Seth, or you can be wonderful referral partners, because when people are no longer able to safely stay in their home, the next step is to transition and use Prime Senior Care Placement to find the next home for mom or dad.
Right.
Because sometimes dad is the one who needs care.
Absolutely. I told somebody the other day that we thought about naming it "What About Dad?" and they're like, "Seriously?" I said, "Well, no, not seriously, but we did think it was kind of funny." So,
Yeah, well, women tend to live longer than men in most cases, so I think that's why we see
that
more
is
women
true. That
in
is true.
placed in assisted livings or senior care facilities.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
So the question I'm often asked, similar to my question when I was first evaluating you, was how hard is it to find caregivers, and how does Your Choice Senior Care help franchisees find caregivers?
Yeah, we don't have, I wouldn't say we have a problem finding them. We have determined that the pay scale is increasing, and that's, just part of the business world. But, talking to other businesses and other industries, I don't know that employee finding employees and retention is any different in this particular business than most of them. We do the same type of hiring practices. Indeed, we're looking in Indeed and a few other those type sites. But I would say what we're seeing more now than we used to is a lot of referrals from our caregivers, people they know in the industry that are caring people too. And what's kind of neat is these caregivers want to work alongside other caregivers that they feel like are doing a good job too. Even though they rarely see each other, they may follow each other from one shift to the next, and they want to work with people they know they can count on and that we can count on. And keeping a customer happy means that the caregivers have to do a good job. And, if you want to maintain your position as a caregiver with a family, you want all the caregivers that are working with the family to be at a certain level. And that's where we're starting to see more and more referrals from our actual um, caregivers that we employ already.
Well, terrific. And what a great testament to the franchisee when you have great caregivers who are referring their friends and other colleagues that they know to work for the same employer. So
Right?
that's
We've had
terrific.
caregivers that have been with us for 14, almost 15 years now. So that says a lot for the business model too. We want to be good employers. We want to make sure our employees are happy, which makes our customers happy.
So you say you're predominantly in the southeast. Where are some of the hots? I know you're available in a lot of different markets, but what are some of your target markets where you'd like to see your next franchisees come
Right.
from?
We're really looking at the Metro Atlanta area. That's huge market there. It's and we haven't done the evaluation yet to see how many franchise markets there are. Obviously, being such a large population and geographically large, there's a lot of opportunity there. The Nashville uh, area is huge, of course. Where everybody wants to be is in Dallas and Houston and those kind of areas, San Antonio. So we're looking at that. That's where we're focused on right now. Um, Also, and one other place we're really looking at is the Central Florida territory.
All prime markets and great territories. So glad that you have a lot of white space. I was also
Well,
attracted because
I did leave out Phoenix,
oh well,
so
yeah.
that's always on our mind.
Yeah, well, they say that one in five people are a baby boom or are seniors, and here it's one in four, with
Right.
about 12,000 seniors turning 65 every single day. And
Wow.
in Phoenix, this is the time of year where we have an influx of Canadian friends as well as people from the Midwest and those colder states. Although
Right.
I hear that it's even cold in Alabama right now. But yeah, they come
South
to
Alabama, it's
Arizona.
snowing and 25 degrees right now, so it's a little chilly. We're not used to it.
Yes. So, so how long does the discovery process usually take with you and George?
We can move through it as quickly as you'd like to. Obviously, there's the FDD consideration of the 2 week timeline that once you sign the receipt that you receive the FDD, we can't do a lot. But we've had folks take as long as 6 months to get through the process and make sure they're ready for this. And I think our Austin group, we got through the whole process in probably about 30 to 45 days. So it's really, what you're looking to do and how quickly you want to move. One thing we don't want to do is rush anybody, and that's never been what we don't push. We don't do a hard sell. We're not looking for somebody we don't want someone to regret a decision they make. And so we really let them take it at their own pace. We're there to answer questions, but we absolutely are not gonna to force anyone. In fact, our Austin owner, he called me after we'd been talking for about 3 weeks, and he had already kind of mentioned that he was wanted to move forward. And then he called me one morning and he said, "Hey, we've decided we're not going to move forward." I said, "Okay, that's fine." I said, "No problem. I understand. What if you change your mind?" And then he laughed. He said, "I was just testing you to see how you would react." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, that's great too." I said, "But he said, I thought you'd be mad." I'm like, "Why would I be mad? This is your life choice. This is your life decision. This is what's going to be, what you are going to do for the next. I'm already doing what I'm going to do.
Yes.
You need to make the right decision for you,
Well, that
whether it's
makes total
for someone
sense.
else or a different industry altogether. That's fine."
Yeah, you're not overly salesy. You're there to help guide them through the process and make sure that they're making an informed decision one way or the other is in investing in their future. Speaking of investments, Your Choice Senior Care, the franchise fee is 45,000, and the all-in investment from your last FDD is about 87,000 to
Yeah,
134,500.
yeah. Those numbers are we like to be conservative and be a little bit on the high side. One of the biggest things that we've seen with our Your Choice Senior Care financial things you need to be consider is, even though you've started out and you've grown and you've got all your expenses covered, what we can see happen is your business can grow really quickly. And because of that, you need to have the opportunity to grab money in order to cover payroll, because we typically pay our employees before we are paid from our clients. So you need to have that ability to float, maybe a couple of weeks of payroll just to stay ahead of it. And as you're growing, you've got to have that money available for that.
And what is the investment for Prime Senior Placement, Joe?
The franchise fee is 30. I want to say that we have in our FTD somewhere between 60 and 90 as far as the all in. But again, that's on the high side, because that's the thing about prime senior placement, is you don't have a lot of overhead. Unlike Your Choice, we don't require an office with prime. In fact, we don't really see the need, because most of your conversation is going to be either on the phone or in person once you get to a community to do a tour. Um, you don't have a lot of overhead on payroll and those types of costs. You do have, of course, with every business model, you've got to have some form of insurance. In this industry is fairly low. So overall, um, it's a low cost, low entry model, and just not a lot of overhead.
Well, terrific. Well, both great opportunities for people who are listening and interested in senior care. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today, Joe?
I'd love for our listeners to think about these opportunities in the senior world. We are growing so fast, and we do need additional options for our seniors. It's there is every market that we have gone into, whether there's a lot of competition or not a lot, we seem to have the same growth in all of them, because as long as we're doing the right thing for the customer, and our referral sources and the people we're working with see that, they want to work with us. And that's one thing we really lean on. We're doing this for the folks we're taking care of, and that's the primary reason for being in senior care.
Right. Well, you're enabling people to stay in their home longer because they have a companion that can help them with housekeeping and cooking and companionship in the
Personal
household,
care.
and
Yeah.
some of the personal care that's needed to stay at home and independent as long as
Right.
possible. That's everyone's ultimate goal. Nobody wants to have to move out of their home until they really have to move out of their home.
And when they do, we have prime senior play, or for them, that is the next option. And even in the areas that we don't have a prime senior placement, we do have those resources available to our clients.
Absolutely. The go-to person, everybody wants to be the Seth of their
The rock
community.
star.
So everybody's leaning into Seth, and you be the next Seth in your community, whether it's
Right.
Texas or Florida or Arizona or some other great spot for this business model. Seniors are everywhere, and there isn't enough senior care available. So while there are a lot of senior care opportunities available, the market is not saturated. There's still not enough people to go around. I've had firsthand experience with this with my sister. She's got multiple sclerosis, and we had to find agency that would come into her home and provide some help and care for her. And it was not easy to do. We interviewed several companies, and they said that they could perhaps give us some care in 2 or 3 weeks, and she needed it immediately. So there's
Right.
lots and lots of opportunity in this business.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it was delightful seeing you today on the Powered by Franchising podcast show, and I look forward to working with any of our listeners who are interested in having a conversation to learn more about your choice senior care or prime senior placement. Both, I know them very, very well. I've known them since I looked at entrepreneurship myself nearly 5 years ago. So appreciate you tuning in today, and stay warm, Joe.
I'll try to. Thank you.